I know that sometimes it can seem impossible to get fit, to be fit, to stay fit if you're working so many hours. You're a Muslim brother, you're providing for your family, you're doing what it takes to be the man for your family, but unfortunately, you're struggling to do what it takes to be healthy for yourself and to be happy for yourself. And maybe you are happy, you're grateful actually, mashallah, but you know that you could be doing better, and you know that actually your family would be getting better if you were happier and healthier because you're taking care of yourself. And so today I want to talk about what does it actually take and how are other Muslim brothers doing this? Like, I want to give you some inspiration. I want to show you that this is not just my theory. This is not just like, here's a theoretical way to maybe get fit. I want to tell you what's actively working for brothers in their 30s. Oh, well, what from my 40s? In their 40s too. What about from my 50s? In your 50s too. There's brothers who are in their 50s, 4+ kids. Most of them are in their 40s and 30s, though. I'm just going to be transparent about that. But there's plenty in their 50s too. In fact, there's plenty of brothers. We don't actually actively have any clients in their 60s or 70s right now, but we have in the past, and there's plenty of examples. I actually know a lot of men in their 60s who are better in shape than most people in their 20s. Now, you might be in your 30s right now and you have a couple young kids and you're like, oh, maybe it's easier at 60 because your kids are grown. That's a valid point. But we got brothers in their 30s. There's literally no excuse. And I'm not saying this to beat down you like, oh, you're an excuse maker. Look at you. You're a loser. No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is here's some inspiration for you to stop experiencing all these roadblocks and impossibilities and hopelessness and whatever else you might be feeling. And you may not be completely hopeless. You may have tried a couple things and gotten some results but fallen off and failed. And you have hope that there is a solution out there, but you just want to see like, how does this actually work? What are the actual tangible evidences and steps, and what can I actually do? And that's what I'm here to do, is to inspire you and to teach you and to force you to get fit, whether you like it or not, through these videos. Now, how can I force you? Well, we're going to see. Maybe it takes more than one video, but here's what we're going to do. So the first thing that all of these brothers have in common that are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 4+ kids, 5 kids, 6 kids, or even 1 to 2 kids, doesn't matter, 3 kids as well. Doesn't matter if you're working 8 to 12 hours a day, if you're working 40, 60, 80, 100, there's even brothers who work 100. The thing that these people all have in common is, as a foundation, before we even talk about nutrition and exercise, the reason is greater than the resistance. And I'm not talking about brothers who were just in shape for their whole life and they never had to struggle with obesity. I'm talking about brothers who were in the upper 200s, maybe even the low 300s, who got down to 190, who got down to the low 200s, who are maintaining it with ease. There are plenty of brothers within the examples of our clients. Some of them, obviously a lot of brothers who are high level professionals want to keep their identity confidential. You can see plenty of, the stories on our website. But there's actually one brother in particular. He's the first one to come to mind. I mean, we got plenty of examples like Brother Shahid, 270 pounds, walked down to 220, mashallah, father of 4, in his 50s now, mashallah, better shape than he was in his 30s and 40s. You can see the whole interview on my Instagram. It's within the story highlights, and I can upload or send it to you. Just let me know in the comments. But the point, like if you want it on YouTube as well, or in some other platform, but the point is, there's actually another brother who comes to mind, and I just thought of him right now because he actually started, and it took him actually a year. Because see, Shahid, he lost 48 pounds actually, because his finishing weight was 222, and he's tall, mashallah. So it took him 6 months, but this other brother, it took him a year, right? And he was starting with very severe obesity, and he's starting where a lot of our current clients are starting right now. And subhanallah, he made some incredible progress. Likewise, you got plenty of other brothers who, again, they started in the upper 200s. They were struggling massively. They were failing. They were trying so many things on their own for not just years, but decades. And then we were finally able to get them moving forward. And I'll talk about the nutrition and training strategy that we use for those things so that you're very clear on it. But before we do that, I want you to know what was the motivational foundation that allowed them to even take consistent action in the first place. So the motivational foundation is that your reason needs to be greater than your resistance, okay? If you are somebody who the first sign of trouble is going to stop you from continuing to take action, then you are eventually going to fail on the journey. And I'm not saying that to discourage you. I'm actually telling that to encourage you. And you can check out my force method video as well here on YouTube. You'll learn everything you need to know about setting this up for yourself. But we can also take you through this process. We take actually every client through this process when we start them off. So if you're watching this on YouTube right now and you feel like you need somebody to take you through the process, then that actually works as well, because we can actually just guide you through it. But you can also go through the video. So essentially, what you need to do is you need to look at your current reality and everything that you're experiencing right now with your current weight. You may not be 270, you may be 230, you may even just be 180, 190, but already have a bunch of health problems, energy problems, everything else. But you need to look at how is your fitness currently affecting the areas of your life that are the greatest priorities for you. Because there's a high chance if you're watching this right now, your bigger priorities than how you look, much bigger priorities than how you look, which may be a very low priority to you, or maybe a slight priority to you, would be nice to have, but it's not a non-negotiable to get you past these resistances. Your greatest priorities are Dean, providing for your family, being there for your family, everything else, right? These are kind of the big things that really drive us the most, more than anything else. So it's very important that you first look at how this might be affecting your Dean. I have a lot of brothers who their joints are hurting, they're huffing and puffing when they're coming up from sujood, everything else. And if they keep going the way that they're going, it's really going to cripple them in their prayers. And unfortunately, it makes me so sad because sometimes at the masjid, I'll see these guys who they can't even make sujood properly because they might be crippled. And again, you could be healthy your whole life and get in a motorcycle accident, may Allah protect you, and then have knee issues. But if you can do something to take care of your body now, you need to do it, or you're gonna, or just you don't need me to tell you. Just ask yourself, where will I genuinely end up in my 70s if I don't do something about it now, and if I don't eventually fix this problem? In a theoretical world where I never figure out how to get fit, maybe I'm in my 30s or 40s right now, but in a theoretical universe where I never got fit, how is this going to affect these other important priorities in my life if I never figured it out? And then don't let it get to that point, because if it gets to that point, you will be forced to change, but it's going to be much harder by that point, and you could have solved it now and prevented all the pain and fallout from that. Likewise, how would it affect your family? If you're already struggling with energy to play with your kids and be present and positive, you're always grumpy and resentful, whatever it may be, how's it going to affect the relationships with your wife and your kids over the years? Likewise, if you're in your professional life, you're still performing at the standard in your KPIs, and that's part of why you're overweight, is that the KPIs and the stress and the pressure have caused you to fall off on the fitness and everything else. Well, what would need to happen in order for you to actually scale beyond your current level in your career? Is it acquiring more knowledge and expertise? Possibly. But what if you actually had the energy levels that you had 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago, or whatever your prime was? Maybe it was 19 years old, maybe it was 22, maybe it was 25, maybe it was 18, whatever age, 17, who knows? Whatever age, you can look back and remember that you had the most energy, you're in the best fitness, the best shape, everything else. Imagine you had that kind of energy levels right now. Yes, it's 100% possible, even if you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, and all the knowledge, wisdom, and expertise and experience that you have right now within your career field and within life. Imagine how much energy you could bring and how much performance you could bring to your career and how much more money you would make. That's it right there. But if you don't, if you continue going the way that you're going, if you keep failing, if you keep falling short, if you keep being overweight, unhealthy, tired, obese, burnt out, everything else, then you are going to underachieve on your full potential and you're going to fall short of what you could have achieved. And I'm telling you this passionately because I want you to succeed. I want you to discover this video, for it to touch your heart, for you to go take action, for you to change your life. Whether you do my program or not, I want you to use all the free information to learn what you need to learn to get the results. And if you decide that you do want to do the program and you want to be somebody who comes along with us and this journey of hundreds of brothers who we're doing this with, and you're committed though, and you're able to level up to the standard to where we're able to accept you into the program, then of course we'd like to do this. But not everybody's going to make the cut. Not everybody may be able to afford it. Not everybody's going to be a good fit. That's fine. As long as you take action, I want you to see this and I want it to change your life. So I want you to reflect on those and check out the force method. I know you can add cards on YouTube, so I'm going to attach it somewhere here, and I will inshallah also link it at the end if it allows me to do it in both places. But that's the first foundation. You need the motivational framework. If you don't have that, you're going to fail. Okay? I've just seen it too many times. Like sometimes on a consult call, maybe I didn't have time, maybe I was too tired because I was overworking myself. That was another lesson I learned. We'll talk about that some other time. I think we have that in a couple other videos where I talk about my own experience with burnout. But there have been times where maybe even the person signed up for the program, but if I didn't take them through that motivational framework at some point during the program, they failed. Okay? And this weighs heavily on my heart because if you pay me money and you do everything that I tell you to, but me or my team did an inadequate job, that weighs on me heavily, which is why we have a very high standard for the team. We have a very high standard for myself, and even why I protect my energy and I limit how many people I can actually have calls with so that I can show up with the right energy to coach you and to build the systems and to mentor the teams. And I make sure that they have work-life balance too, so that they are able to pour into you at the level required. And this is so important. So we are not lazy about this framework. It's a requirement. And sometimes people don't want to talk about these things. They're like, just give me the plan, blah, blah, blah. We're like, nope, sorry, not a good fit. You need to talk about these things. You actually need to talk about your feelings. I know as men, we're like, oh, we make jokes about why it's womanly to talk about your feelings. But the reality is, talking about the feelings within the context of creating a more powerful and potent solution that's going to be longer lasting because we have sufficient motivation to stick with the process is an extremely powerful lever. In fact, it's a required lever that we need to pull because if you don't have sufficient motivation to stick it through when things get hard, because things will get hard no matter how good the system and strategy is, then you're going to fail. Okay, and you need to have the right environment around you, which is why, having a group of over 100 brothers who are doing this, which is what we have, obviously is going to help you with this. But if you choose to do it on your own for whatever reason, or you're maybe not a good fit, no worries, but you need to find some kind of a group around you to help you, okay? Now, next up, we need to talk about the nutritional strategy. Now, nutrition is a very deep science. If you want the most scientifically optimized nutrition plan and you don't care how food tastes, I can help you with that as well. But most of our clients, and myself included, are more so of the mindset that we need to have food that actually tastes good and is realistic and realistic to prep, and we need some flexibility guidelines when it comes to eating with family and when it comes to traveling. Now, those are the realistic elements, but that doesn't mean we don't push ourselves at all. It doesn't mean that we're just lazy and we don't prep food, we don't learn how to meal prep, and we just, kind of pick and choose some hopefully healthy options at family gatherings. No, that's a concession we make if we either forgot to prep, we had an emergency that stopped us to prep, and then if we forgot to prep, we solve how do we not forget to prep in the future. But sometimes things happen, right? We're all human, we all make mistakes, but it shouldn't be happening on a recurring basis. However, if some emergency comes up or you're at a family gathering, there's some special circumstance that stops you from actually being able to do what you need to do, then of course, we have some concessions for that and things we can do and different things we can do when we travel. Sometimes there's unexpected travel, sometimes the conditions. But other than that, you got to learn how to meal prep. And I just posted a video on how to meal prep. I'll either attach that below or at the end as well. But I have a very in-depth video that's going to teach you exactly how to meal prep so that you can just do that so you can take control of your nutrition. Very, very important. I would not cut corners with that. Just do it, okay? Now, when it comes to what is the composition of that meal prep, we have some other videos that go pretty deep into the nutrition side, like the 40-40-20 rule, which is my macro ratios as far as like what percentage of your calories should come from proteins, carbs, and fats. So we want 40 to 45% calories from protein, 35 to 40% from carbs, complex carbs specifically, not just sugar and gulab jamun, absolutely not, right? And we need to develop restraint around those things, which is like having a sufficient reason to overcome the resistance is key for you. But also, we need to have 15 to 20% fats. Now, sometimes it's very low. It might be 45 to 55 grams of fat that you're eating per day, which is very little. You are going to get your fat in the cheat meal because obviously we have a cheat meal once a week. But other than that, we need to be very careful with these things. So anyways, we have a lot of other videos that go deep into nutrition science that you can check out, as well as the recipe frameworks and whatnot. But this is an important thing too, so that you actually have a realistic strategy. And so that's another thing that all these brothers have that have allowed them to succeed is there's a realistic strategy that's sustainable and relatively flexible. But every single one of them did need to learn how to meal prep. I'm trying to think if there's an exception to this. I don't think we've had a single client who got amazing results who did not meal prep. We've had a couple clients who maybe they had to meal prep a little bit less and use a couple more flexibility options, but their results were not as good as the people who meal prepped. But almost every one of our clients meal preps, and at this point, that's the standard that we have, is that if you're going to join our program, you have to be willing to meal prep. If you're not willing to do that, there's not that much that we can do for you, okay? And it doesn't mean that you have to do the prep if your wife is willing to prep, but let's say you got 5 kids running around, she's busy with them, or you don't want to burden her or whatever, you might need to learn how to meal prep. And meal prep doesn't mean you have to do it for the week. As I talk about in the meal prep video, if you have the option and luxury of being able to cook every day, or your wife is down to cook every day or every other day, that's a possibility. But a lot of us don't have that luxury, and so we have to cook for a whole week. Like I usually cook my meats for the whole week, and I'll buy like frozen, veggies and carb sources so I can just ready make those a lot easier. Or I might prep it, or I might measure out the meals. I mean, there's different ways to do it, and we talk about that in the meal prep video. So that's, and then of course the cheat meals, the travel strategies, all that stuff, which we cover in a lot of other videos. Now, the last thing is having a realistic and adjustable workout plan. Now, the best type of training that you can do to get the most out of your time is going to be strength training with mobility work. Okay, mobility work is very key. Our bodies aren't getting any younger. We got to take care of them, especially because that's part of the amana here. Part of our motivation to get fit is for the sake of Allah, taking care of the body He gave us. That doesn't just mean our body weight. It doesn't just mean our muscle mass. It means the health of our joints and not having all this chronic joint pain, back pain, knee pain, neck pain, shoulder pain, elbow pain, wrist pain, all those other pains that you might be experiencing that I've definitely experienced myself. And so mobility is not fun, but you have to do it, okay? And so do we have to spend a crazy amount of time on it? Not necessarily, but we do need to spend a significant amount of time on it, okay? So you're going to do mobility work every single day, or at least 3 times a week, but every time that you work out, best frequency for workout is about 3 to 4 times a week. And we're going to be doing strength training. We're going to be hitting every muscle. We're going to be hitting everything in balance. We're going to work on your specific posture deficits, okay? Very important. So on top of that, though, you also need to be a little bit more active. If you currently sit in front of a desk 8 to 12 hours a day, you're not active enough. You need to get more steps. You're probably getting 2,000 to 3,000 steps max per day. Maybe you go play racquetball, maybe you go for a hike once in a while, but every day you need to be doing a little bit more than that. Now, you might start off with just 5 to 10 minute walks, okay? You might start off with 20 to 30 minute walks. You might jump all in and start hitting 10K steps a day. You might get an under the desk treadmill and start hitting 15 to 20K steps a day. Although I wouldn't really recommend going above 15K in most cases because it's going to be a little too much on the body. But walking is a great way to get your cardio up. Now, of course, if you have good conditioning and running is easy for you, you can run. If swimming is easy for you, you can swim. But a lot of people come to us and running is a nightmare for them. I mean, even I hate running. So I usually just walk, okay? As much as I want to be the perfect motivated modern Muslim man, I am a very motivated modern Muslim man. Right, we're leading this thing, but it's not really a realistic strategy to expect ourselves to go running all the time, especially if you have joint issues or it's very difficult for you. There's a balance between pushing yourself and making things realistic if you push yourself too little when you could have pushed yourself more, you miss out on a lot of mental growth, but you also miss out on peak results. And if you push yourself to a level where it's unrealistic, then obviously that affects your consistency. You fall off and your net results are poor because your consistency is off. Okay. So we need to find a balance where we're able to stay 100% consistent and we're pushing ourselves a bit and being disciplined, being this version of ourselves. And there's a lot of mental benefits to being disciplined. If you just lived a life of pure laziness, you would actually be less happy. You would be less successful, of course. And there's just so many drawbacks, and you would just be miserable though, because you would have no sense of accomplishment. But when you have just a little bit of challenge in your life, not to a level where it's so oppressively overwhelming that you feel hopeless or and despair, and it's draining you and stressing you so bad that you wonder when it's going to be over, that's not the level of stress we're going for. So if you feel that way on a diet, we definitely need to adjust your dietary strategy. Okay, you need a custom diet that's tailored to your level and where you're at. But on top of that, what you also need is, you can't just be on a lazy diet where it's like, oh, can I just eat the exact same thing I'm eating now and then just work out and hopefully lose the weight? Yeah, some people are blessed with that kind of metabolism, but you probably wouldn't be watching a video on weight loss if you had that kind of metabolism, because you probably wouldn't be overweight in the first place. And I'm not saying that like, you're overweight. I'm not. I'm saying, hey man, I've been overweight many times. I know how it feels, and I feel for you, and I don't want you to experience all this pain that you're experiencing right now. So let's fix it. Let's talk solutions, okay? So now that we have an overview of these things, so we're doing, meal prep, we have a sufficient motivator, we're strength training 3-4 days a week, we're going for walks every day, we're trying to up our steps. If you're doing 2,000 to 3,000 now, go for 5,000 to 6,000. It's about 30 more minutes of walking. You can fit in 30 minutes, 10 minutes after each meal, 5 minutes after each salah instead. If you want to time it with your salah instead of your meals, mix and match the two. I have a video on this as well. You'll be able to make a lot of progress. Now, that is pretty much it. It's actually very simple. Like, I wish I could give you some more elaborate thing. We need to complex analyze your blood work, and we can. And certainly if your results are not as expected from the more simplified protocol, we can look into your blood work. There's a lot of different micronutrients. There's a lot of things that also change as you age, such as your digestion, such as your stress, such as your testosterone, such as your thyroid. And of course, all of us could use more vitamin D, more magnesium, more zinc. I mean, there's a lot of different things that most of us can do that would be helpful for us. But I want to start with a simple strategy just to get you in momentum. And then if you're still having any kind of symptoms of low energy, obesity, bad blood work, we can make further refinements. And on top of that, if your results aren't what are expected, then we can go really complex with the blood work and stuff. And we can start that way too if it's not overwhelming for you. But I think what I've observed from most guys, it's a little overwhelming to do all of that from the start. We want to make this easy to commit to so you can start to get momentum, so you can get started, because anything is better than the way that you're going right now. Now, there are a lot of people who might be watching this, and a lot of you might already be taking a lot of action. You are in that plateau where we need to start with your blood work right away, but at least you're already taking action. But if you're not taking sufficient, consistent action right now and you've been discouraged, go through the motivational framework to get yourself motivated. Go through the information stuff to get yourself informed. And then from there, we can start to make a difference. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to attach two things here, okay? I'm going to attach in the comments the link to our program if you want to just take charge. You're ready to join us. We got over 100 brothers in the group. I almost said hundreds. We've worked with hundreds of brothers, but we currently have over 100 brothers in the group, mashallah, who are crushing it inside of our paid programs, our paid coaching programs, okay? So if you're ready to join us and you're ready to be committed, you're ready to take this seriously, then the link is below to review all the information on how it works, testimonials, all that, and then fill out an application. If you're not ready for that yet, though, because we only take people who are committed, then of course you can still go through all the free content as well. Maybe you are committed to the idea, but you just want to learn more. You could tap the link and learn more. And then if you still need to learn more about what I do, you can also watch more of my YouTube content. But what I'm going to attach right now to help you with education, regardless of who you are, is that'll be in the coaching will be in the link will be in the description. The meal prep link will be in the description. The motivational video, how to force yourself to take action with unlimited motivation, like we talked about in step 1 of the 3 steps we covered today, will be here. And the science of fat loss and muscle growth will be here. So you can watch that as well. Inshallah, I'll see you in the next video. Assalamu alaikum.